Thanks so much.
Have a good meeting.
You too. Get one. Okay. And so you said right now we're out. We don't have Doug or Jen fully at the moment, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So we have an agenda. Let me read this, these two openers and then we'll do the agenda. So, this meeting's being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. And the town of Scituate's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during the meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is a disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized minorities communities, to feel welcome and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards and to support and respect our community. So with that, welcome to the May 20th Scituate Conservation Commission meeting, and we have an agenda. And I'd like to, at the end, maybe we have to speak about some reappointments. Add that to it, and then maybe just a little update on open space if we have time. Anybody have anything else they want to add or change on the agenda?
I'll also have something on open space and
Just a notice on reappointments.
okay.
So I'll make a motion, we accept the agenda with those two add-ons.
Okay. And do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Yes. Okay, Brendan, second. All in favor? Richard
Yes.
and Brendan.
He seconded.
Yes, I seconded.
Oh yeah, sorry. Eric
And
Yes.
Doug is here.
and Doug.
Where is he?
Was that a yes, Doug?
Check.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
I couldn't get unmuted. Now, look, there I am. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Great.
Got
Thank you.
everything.
And Frank, yes. Awesome. So do we want to roll into
First one.
first one? On May 20th, 2024, at the 6 p.m. meeting, the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of the Massachusetts Department of Transportation for work related to the improvements along Route 3A, Chief Justice Cushing Highway between Schofield Road and Henry Turner Bailey Road in Scituate. The project proposes the introduction of a two-way left turn lane and exclusive left turning lanes. Bike lanes, sidewalks will also be constructed. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available, posted on the town website. And do we have somebody presenting that, Jen?
Yes, we have Mike Rieger, is that how you say it, from Trans Systems, and Melissa Lenker from Mass Dot is on.
Yep, that's
And
correct.
if anybody wants any additional reading, I have a 3-binder notebook that's about 2.5 inches thick here.
That's a big application.
So go ahead, just introduce yourself and your title, if you would.
Yep. The video is not working on my end, but do you want me to turn that on, Jen?
I'm sorry, I mean, if your video is not working, you're not able to turn your video on?
It says because the host has stopped it. It's like not allowed, I don't think.
I'm not
I can go
sure.
without the video too. That's fine. Okay, hi everybody. This is Mike Rieger. work at a company called Trans Systems, and we're working with Mass DOT to construct roadway improvements on Route 3A in the towns of Cohasset and Scituate. Just as you mentioned, Frank, in your opening remarks, from Schofield Road to Henry Turner Bailey Road in Scituate. The purpose of the project is to add sidewalks and a bike path. Bike lanes with a 2-foot buffer from the bike lane to the road, for the travel lane to the road, and exclusive turning lanes. So there'll be a center median where you can exclusively turn right or left, and at the intersections, exclusive left turn lanes.
Yeah, excuse me one second, Mike. Jen, do we have anything to put up on the screen for that one?
Yes, sorry, I'm getting there.
Hi. Hello, Jakey.
I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
There's a figure in the write-up. Yeah, this is good, Jen.
Okay.
So this is one sheet back, Jen, if you will, like sheet 11. So this is the center of Route 3A where there's Cohasset and Scituate town line right there, in the center of the screen. And everything to the south or the east on this sheet will be in Scituate going down toward Henry Turner Bailey Road.
Which is
So
about 10 feet.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch back to this other screen just for a moment,
okay,
just to
yep.
show where all the work is on 3A.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the majority
Great.
of the work is in Cohasset, but there is a small segment there you can kind of see in the middle there. That dashed line is the town boundary there. So say about a third of it is in Scituate and 2/3 of the project is in Cohasset.
Okay,
Okay,
back to the plan.
Yeah, so then I just wanted to touch on the anticipated construction timeline would be this fall 2024 to completion in summer of 2027. It's about 2.5 years of construction. And then I also wanted to mention that we had another site visit with Mass DEP on last Thursday, 5/16/24. And we need to tweak some of the wetland flags. As shown here, you can see a wetland flag is called H1 on the bottom of the screen there. So we went out and had Mass DEP with us and refreshed the flags on Thursday. So there'll be subtle changes to the plans
So,
ba-
yeah,
based on that. And I guess next I'll talk about
Gotcha.
the wetland replication
I
areas.
saw that. Yep. Okay.
Oh, hold on, somebody's,
is somebody
Gotcha.
not muted?
I mean, that's gonna be a year.
Greg,
I got it.
can you,
Okay.
got him?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Yep, no problem. So in Scituate, there's two wetlands, wetland H and wetland I, we're calling them. If you go to the next sheet, Jen, sheet 12. Yes, right here. This is the impact to wetland H on the south of the road. There's 52 square feet that shows, basically we're constructing a wall to limit the amount of impacts to the adjacent wetlands to Route 3A. But the wetlands are so close that inadvertently there's some impacts to the wetlands. So then the idea is to replicate the impacted wetland on the north side of the road adjacent to wetland I, which is hydraulically connected from a drainage culvert right around station 7+10 or so, right where it says Route 3A on the R there. There's a pipe that crosses under the road. So those wetlands are hydraulically connected. So that's the intent here, is just to mitigate any wetland impacts we have with replication. And then the other issue we're dealing with in Scituate is the floodplain, the 100-year floodplain is being impacted. So it's called bordering land subject to flooding. And to compensate for that, we are mitigating at a 1-to-1 ratio for area and volume per every foot of impact. So that is shown on the next sheet, Jen. Those tables there summarize the area, and the green areas on the plans are the actual areas for the compensatory flood storage area. And the dark magenta line is the impact to the 100-year floodplain. And that 100-year floodplain is based on surveyed topography with the elevation, I believe, at 30.2 in this area. 30.2 is the 100-year flood elevation. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was the stormwater management plan. So since we're doing a project with MassDOT, we have to, we're not adding a full lane, so it's considered a redevelopment project. So we're meeting the standards to the maximum extent practicable, in particular for the water quality and the recharge. But we are handling as much water as possible at the northeast quadrant of Henry Turner Bailey and Route 3A. You can see a sediment forebay there, and then it overflows into an infiltration basin, and then from there it would go into the water would go into the ground, but then any other water would go over the riprap and back under Henry Turner Bailey Road into the wetland near Bound Brook, near Wetland J. And that's the only other than that stormwater control measure. We're replacing all the catch basins on the project with deep sump
I
catch
know.
basins for
Jake,
sediment
Leave
control.
that alone. Jake,
And that's about it.
Mike, real quick, do you want to talk about the riverfront area impacts too? And apologies, I didn't get a chance to introduce myself, but this is Melissa Lenker. I'm with Mass DOT.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, if you want to
Yes.
just keep going with that, be great.
Yep. So the those hatches you see there on the plan, they're the 100-foot riverfront boundary, and then the 200-foot riverfront boundary is the one the hatch that's a little bit lighter hatch, kind of off the road. So we do have we're working within the riverfront. We're just calling that out and showing that there's a river in the vicinity.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Jen, do you want to make any comments?
I think he already said it, but that they are making some revisions to the plan, so we should have a new plan before we close, for one thing, and my understanding was Mass DEP is reviewing the stormwater parts of this also.
Yep. Mass DEP is concurrently reviewing the notice of intent package for both Cohasset and Scituate. And they're reviewing the stormwater management report, which was part of the application.
Okay. Let's see. Penny, this is right down the street from you.
yeah. I really don't have any questions. I'm just wondering, because I don't see existing verb profile. So you're widening it on both sides of the road, or just the east side is where the widening's going?
There's small widening on both sides of the road, depending on the location of the adjacent driveways. But it's all within the state layout line. And
Yeah.
as you know, right now there's I think single lanes south and north on Route 3A with like sort of a wider shoulder.
Yeah.
So they're gonna just restripe. It's basically restriping the pavement to continue with like single lanes, but they're adding a bike lane on the pavement and then a proposed sidewalk on each side of the road. So it is getting, that's additional impervious area, but there's a lot of a lot of it's already impervious area because it's a lot of shopping, centers and driveways
Yeah, in
Um,
Cohasset,
Cohasset.
in Cohasset, yeah. And then
not
Situate,
in Scituate.
no, Situate's mostly woods through there. Once there's a racket club
Right.
there
Yeah,
and then,
That's it.
there's not too much there. There's both sidewalks and, the bike lane.
This is more a curiosity question. Why would the state put sidewalks on a main drag?
Well, I think they're trying to put them everywhere that they can, Penny.
Okay.
I mean, in time, hopefully they'll encouraging people to do some of that and keep them off the street where you can.
I can understand the streets, but this is the main drag and we have enough trouble trying to get out of Henry Turner Bailey, Booth Hill. And then up at Man Lot. I mean, we have so many accidents, but anyways, okay, it's,
And Penny, just to clarify too, there'll be a signal at Henry Turner Bailey Road now as part of the
Yeah.
project too.
Maybe it's
And
a
with
regular set of
crosswalk.
lights.
Yeah, a regular set of lights. Yeah,
wow.
instead of a flashing, I think it might just be a flashing
Yeah.
flashing
well,
beacon now.
Booth Hill is the one that has the most accidents, but anyways. I'm done, Frank. Thank you.
Okay. Just
Okay.
don't forget our scope of review is conservation.
Yes, I
Oh.
understand that.
All right. Richard?
I don't really have any conservation questions about it. I would be interested to know, is the sidewalk going on both sides? It would certainly make sense if it went on the southbound side. No, I'm saying that wrong.
East.
If you're headed south, it would be on the eastbound side, yes. Where it would turn into Henry Turner Bailey. I don't know the use of it on the other side, but that's beside the point. I'm just curious about it.
Yes, the sidewalk terminates right at that station 9+50 it's on both sides of the road there, and then you'd have to cross the road, cross
Oh.
Route 3A, and then go up Henry Turner Bailey Road, and then you could cross Henry Turner Bailey Road where you can see those wheelchair
Yep.
ramps.
Yep. So if there's going to be a signal, is there going to be a crosswalk?
Yes, there'll be a crosswalk there.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Okay. Doug?
I like that we're adding sidewalks and a bike path. We could use it all up and down 3A. So one question and maybe you covered this, but who's like reviewing the wetland replication areas? Is that DEP going to do that as well?
Yes, Mass DEP is reviewing the areas. Yeah, and you're welcome to review them as well.
Frank, do we issue, or Jen, do we issue a local order of conditions on this as well as
Yes.
DEP's? Okay, so do they have?
So I think, Mike, the question, when maybe get to Doug's question a little bit, in the case of local hearings, when we typically have a wetlands line drawn on a major project, we would have our consultant review the wetlands line. I don't ever believe we've hired a private peer review for a municipal job. Is there a third party, Mike, that reviews the wetlands, or is it all by the state?
No, it's all by the state. Like, so Trans Systems went out and flagged the wetlands, and then Mass DEP had a site visit with us, and they reviewed the delineations as well. And that's it. Yeah. Cohasset, I know I said sometimes they'll send out their commissioners to go look at the wetlands, but we haven't had their hearing with them yet. That's this Thursday.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Doug?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't know what our beginning and end of our responsibilities are for that, because we usually have a 3-year growing review of wetland replication areas and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't understand. I'm just curious how the two orders of conditions would overlap each other or, and hopefully not contradict each other. But the other question is there a thought to extend I'm not sure if I'm reading the plan right, but if the bike path down to down Turner Bailey Road into North Situate, where the train station is or anything?
That, let me just check, something quick.
I know that's not a, you know, a Mass DOT project, but it's
Yeah, that's out of this, that's,
it's out of your scope. I just
Ye-
didn't know if there had been discussions
yeah,
around
I'm
the
not sure. I
town
haven't heard
picking
any.
that up.
I have not heard anything, where I sit on that at all.
Okay. Yeah,
Sorry,
that's not
yeah.
really that's not really wetlands question. It's just a resident question.
Sure.
Having easy access to the train stations is always a good idea.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
I'm good.
okay.
Thank you.
Did Jen Foley join us?
I do not see her.
Okay, Brendan?
Yeah, I don't think I have any additional questions.
Eric?
So I guess my one question is, I'm just looking, I think it was a sheet 11, with regard to wetland H. You had mentioned constructing a wall. I see the scope of work line as well as the proposed sediment control barrier. I think the thing I'm having a hard time reading off of the plan is where the existing guardrail is and how much of an impact, you know, Paper South will be going to extending 3A there, only because I'm just looking at it and there's obviously a steep grade change, and just how that was going to be, how that was going to, that area of work was going to be done just
Like
because of the,
staged.
yeah, just because we have the ledge marker there. Obviously a very small piece of the marked wetland, you know, is going to be impacted there. But I just was having a hard time discerning some of the lines on, I see the gravity wall location. But obviously building a wall, you're going to have to go probably a little bit farther, or am I misreading or interpreting?
So the extent the contractor can go is just to that, the temp easement line, which is that dark dashed line there. And then the hay bale line is that, not hay bale, erosion sediment control barrier is that cyan line that you see
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
And so that will all be in place, and then they'll have some space to construct the wall, from the roadside, basically. And then the existing guardrail, I know it is tough to see, but it is there. It's like this little dashed gray line right above the prop wall BL. If you look at station 2 there, it's kind of that little line with the dots under it.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I know like driving by that area, it does drop off significantly there, and just figured it'd be a tight area to work. So I didn't know if that meant fill or, you know, how that was gonna, you know, play out in terms of the expansion, you know, of the infrastructure in that area. And as it related to the construction of the wall, I just was thinking that, wow, it's really, you're really right up against that, you know, that line for erosion and sediment control. So it was just hard for me to conceptualize just in my head.
Yeah, it does look pretty tight. Yeah, but I think the contractor will be able to do that. They'll be able to make it work.
Thank you for that. And then one other question, just as it relates to the tree protection zones. Now, is that for the entire scope of the project? Or just in certain areas where there's, you know, planted landscape trees, or is this for the entirety of existing trees within the construction zone?
I'm not actually sure on that, Eric. But yeah, everything in the construction zone, the trees will remain and be protected if they're not in the way, if they're not in the construction
Right.
zone. Trying to think of an
Um,
example though, like is there in particular location you were thinking?
No, just, if, for example, off 3A on this sheet here, if there were trees to be impacted, I guess I was curious if there was removals, on the table, and then trees that might not be considered for removal, if the tree protection plan, because there's a sheet for that, was going to be initiated on, all woodland trees here, along the scope of work, or like I said, if it was just going to be landscape trees farther north in Cohasset.
Okay.
Oh,
I also don't know the answer to that right now, but I can work with our landscape group and we can get an answer for you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm all set, Frank.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anybody in the audience for this?
I
Doesn't
don't see
seem
any hands.
right. Um, are there any other public meetings like that are held prior to this project, other than the conservation?
Yes, we had a public meeting in 2020, February of 2020.
Okay,
It was a long time ago. It was like, because it was right before COVID hit.
gotcha.
It was like the last in-person meeting, but I believe that may have been at the Cohasset Town Hall, but I think it was a public meeting. I'm trying to think if Scituate,
We haven't seen it.
I don't think Scituate had a public meeting that I can think of.
Mm-mm.
It would have been
Okay.
before 2020 though, like if anything. Nothing between 2020 and now.
Okay. I just don't remember hearing much about this. Um, I mean, there's a fair amount here, but it looks like they've addressed, to me anyways, the different uh wetlands areas um and the calculations for that. I mean, to Doug's point, if this was a private uh job, we'd have somebody reviewing it. In this case, um, I guess it's the state itself that looks over that. Um,
What are some of the other permits that you need to get for this project?
We need to get a water quality certification from Mass DEP, 401 water quality cert. And then Army Corps of Engineers 404 permit.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I think there's also a MEPA cert for this project.
Yes, correct. We did a ENF, an environmental notification form through the Massachusetts Environmental Protection Agency.
And then we'll also require an order of conditions in Cohasset as well.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa.
I guess the only thing really for me is the proximity to Bound Brook. I mean, it's a pretty sensitive area. We've gone through the process of removing the impoundment in North Scituate with the goal of kind of improving the quality of Bound Brook. It looks like you're adding, did you say deep sump basins?
Deep sump catch basins, yes. Like those,
So, go ahead.
so I was gonna say those structures you see on the plan, like right at station 1+50, like along the road, those represent a catch basin with a 4-foot sump. So they're quote unquote deep sump instead of the standard 3-foot sump on them. So that's a standard MassDOT construction standard detail. So that takes out the sediments, and then we also have hoods on the catch basins, which so if there's like oil or gas in the bottom of the sump, it won't kind of go up into the right into the pipe, like the top layer doesn't get into the pipes. Only like the spot that goes up through the hood does, so it helps with water quality control. And then in Scituate, all the water is actually, majority of it is going to the infiltration basin too, so that even gets more water quality treatment.
Mike, do you know the frequency that they check those basins? I mean, do they just set them up with an annual cleaning? Any idea how DOT manages that?
I do. It's there's an operation and maintenance plan that DOT follows. I believe they check it after every significant like rainfall.
Mike, I can
mostly.
take this one.
Okay.
So the catch basin, sorry, I can't talk. The catch basins are inspected annually and cleaned as needed, and that's something done by the district.
Okay. Well, there's a lot there, but I'm going to presume that for the most part, it looks like everything's been addressed that can be. And you said this is supposed to start in the fall?
Yep. Basically, the idea is to get it out to advertising, meaning the construction, the contractors will bid on the project, bid on the engineering estimate. End of August 31st is the target ad date, and then within 40 days, there's a notice to proceed issued to the contractor, and then they could start work as they see fit. But the schedule shows 2.5 years of construction based on the notice to proceed, that's why we just said kind of fall 2024. It could slide maybe a month or two, but that's the general time frame right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else? So we're gonna continue this, waiting for those wetlands flag, Jen, is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, and if case there's any other changes that come with that, and I think we were thinking we would continue for a month to June 17th.
Does that work for you folks?
Yeah, that works for me.
I mean, it's possible we could have the information sooner.
When's our next meeting?
The third.
Are we
do
full? Go ahead.
Yes, that's a pretty full agenda.
What sort of changes you anticipating?
Like
With-
if you go to sheet, the next sheet, Jen, sheet 12. So these wetlands right here, wetland H and I, those are probably gonna look slightly different when we based on the wetland flags, like H11, that flag might slide up 5 feet or slide down 5 feet. It's more or less gonna be like the same wetland. It just is gonna look slightly different. And then that permanent H impact area that says 52 square feet, that could potentially go down to 10 square feet, or maybe it goes up to 70 square feet. I don't have that information right now because we just got that information on Thursday, but more or less this is the area that would change. Like nothing else would change, I don't think. It would just be this vicinity and trying to replicate.
Do you know when you go before Cohasset
Thursday.
It's Thursday.
this
Yeah,
Thursday?
Yeah. And they have a lot more impacts. It's all actually north of Beechwood Street on Route 3A.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of wetlands in that area.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It just you seem concerned about the timeline and getting this out to bid. So I'm sorry, and we had what now, Jen, the 30th or?
We've June 3rd is our next meeting.
Mhm.
And then June 17th would be a month from now.
4 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. And I forget the names here. It's Mike or
Yes.
Mike and
so-
Melissa.
Melissa. So what do you anticipate with Cohasset? Just trying to figure out your,
I'm anticipating a similar conversation on Thursday, saying that we're gonna need to, come back to them again with the updated plan.
Yeah.
To show slightly different things, but basically I'm gonna give the same overview and in the meantime, answer Mass DEP's comments. They have some comments that are easily addressed, but hopefully just update the plans to accommodate all parties really, and then present those at the following meeting. And I think Cohasset's every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's something around 3 weeks, I think. So I don't know what date they would pick for the following,
sure.
but
Well, one of the things that, Jen, I don't know how you feel about this, but I mean, we're having a chance to look at this meeting. If anybody, these plans, if anybody has any questions, they'll have time to look at it. But if we move this to the, what did you say, the 17th or the 19th?
17th.
17th, is it feasible to close and issue?
Yes.
Okay,
They
Melissa,
have info in, yeah,
so essentially we kind of get to the same,
date, yeah.
And it gives us a chance to have the same set of plans as Cohasset.
yep. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Melissa?
Yep.
Okay,
yes.
and Mike, great. Okay, so I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to continue to June 17th.
That's from Penny.
I'll
Second,
second that.
Then I don't have to forget them.
that was who? Who seconded?
I don't know who else, but I did.
Brendan got it. All right.
Thank you,
So
Brendan.
all in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Dock float.
Okay, 7 Holmes Street on May 20th, 2024, 6 p.m. The Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Richard and Ann Toran for work related to constructing a dock at location 7 Holmes Street, Scituate. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting is available on the website.
And we have Greg Morse.
Hey, good evening, Greg.
Good evening. For the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owners, Richard and Ann Torian. The property is 7 Holmes Street, which is down in Hummerock. As was just read into the record, the proposal here is a notice of intent associated with a dock at the property. Looking at the plan, if you scroll to the top, it depicts the property. You'll see right next to where the cursor is the existing home. Holmes Street is immediately to the south of that. And off on the left-hand side of the page to the west of the home is the South River. The South River is obviously a tidal river at this point. This is south of the Julian Street Bridge in the Hummerock section. The proposal here is to construct a new wooden pier with an aluminum gangway and a float out in the river. We would start in the backyard with a 19 or 17-foot ramp up onto the pier. The pier itself is 40 feet long by 4 feet wide. Then we would have the 30-foot aluminum gangway down to a 10-foot by 20-foot float. In all, what we're proposing 4 sets of piles for the pier portion of the project. We're also proposing 4 separate piles at the 4 corners of the float out in the river. The piles will be 12-inch diameter timber piles. They'd be driven by a barge that would come up the river to do the work. You'll note on the plan that if you look at the bottom, the property immediately to the south, there's a dock that was recently permitted there. The intent here is that the contractor building that dock, which hasn't been built yet, would build both of these at the same time.
Okay.
Likely not this fall, but hopefully fall of 2025 would be the anticipated construction timeline for both of those projects at the same time. This is our first stop. We still have to go to DEP Waterways, Army Corps of Engineers. But in reviewing this project, the items that we've identified on the plan applicable under the wetlands regulations are the height of the dock over the mean high water. If you scroll to the bottom of the plan here, you'll see that we've provided a profile of the dock, which identifies that the dock itself is 5 feet above the mean high water elevation. And that's important because that allows access under the dock between mean low water and mean high water for pedestrian access along the river. The dock is largely over mud flats at this location, but there is a small portion that has salt marsh. Over that salt marsh portion, we have identified that the dock at that location provides 6 feet of height from the bottom of the stringers on the dock over the salt marsh grass. That's to allow light to the salt marsh so that it can continue to function.
Yep.
DEP had no comments with this submittal. They did issue a DEP file number. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Greg. Jen?
Yes, have we heard back from the harbor master on this? I don't think I saw his response, but maybe he sent something to you.
We met with him preliminarily before we made this filing to show him the project and try to incorporate any comments that he had. The comments that he had when we met with him were, putting the street number on the dock so it was identified on the float and everything, and we made those adjustments. But since we've made the filing, I have not seen any formal comments from the harbor master.
Okay, he usually comments on where it is in the water also.
Yeah, we typically get a letter, don't we, or something,
Mhm.
or an email, or Jen?
Yeah, it's something, yes. So we can put that in the orders that we need to have something in writing from him.
Right. Richard?
Well, not really curious. Greg, where the float is out, is that, I'm trying to think how to phrase this question. It's frequently going to be in no water at low tide, I would believe. Am I correct about that?
So yeah, where the float is at low tide, this float is riding up and down on 4 pilings at the 4 corners of it, and they will have float stops on them so that the float itself won't hit the bottom. I believe it provides a minimum of 2 feet from the bottom of the float to the bottom of the river.
Okay, you caught why I was asking that question. Second question, is that planned to stay in all year, or will that be removed at all in the winter?
It could be conditioned to be removed. That would be fine.
That works better. And the last question for me would be on the ramp itself and all of that, how much space between the slats?
I believe 3/4 of an inch is the requirement.
I actually thought it was more, but I could be wrong.
Looking at the plan here, just bear with me 1 minute.
3/4 is,
Not very much. I thought it was more than that, but I could be wrong about that. But it's the reason for the question.
1/4. Sorry, one inch is the requirement.
Okay, that makes
1 inch
sense.
is the requirement.
Thank you. I'm good for now, Frank.
Okay. Doug?
Oh, Rich asked all the good questions, so I'm good.
Wow, that never
It's
happened
Looks
before.
pretty straightforward to me. Nice job,
Brendan?
Rich.
Brendan?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Eric?
Just a question regarding the salt marsh patch. Is there a way to shift or move it one way or the other to reduce the impact of the pilings on the salt marsh itself? I know that the patch isn't very big, but I also understand the limitations of lot lines. And then also, I'm not entirely sure if moving it to one side or another would impact how far the ramp and float would have to go. But I'm just looking at it and thinking not just the piles, but then also just shadow cast onto that salt marsh, particularly having impacts on habitat and the growth and development of that patch of salt marsh. So I'm not sure how many questions I asked there, but if you could respond with whatever you see makes sense, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, the looking at where the salt marsh is and looking at the property line extensions from the land out into the river, there is a 25-foot setback from the property lines to the float. And the property line that kind of dictates where this project is the northern property line. We do have it at that minimum setback. So you couldn't move it closer to that property line. If you moved it closer to the property line, that would not eliminate the salt marsh crossing. It would minimize it a little bit, perhaps. But that's why we have we're 6 feet above that salt marsh. We'd be glad to provide some plantings. We could increase the size of the salt marsh and, put some plugs out there of salt marsh grass to help offset any impacts of those 4 pilings.
Yeah, and it might make sense if that's the case looking at the plan view, paper self, just because of the width of it at that point might provide a little bit more protection. But no, thank you for addressing that, Greg. I appreciate it.
No.
Who did I jump over? Penny?
Yep, that's okay. I'm all set, Frank. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
I don't see anyone.
Okay. Greg, in order to access the ramp, is there any clearing or other work?
No, that's an existing footpath that's already used to access the river.
Okay.
No.
And how about lighting?
There's no lighting proposed on the dock.
Great.
I don't like water.
Yeah, I think if because the distance from the property line to that float has to be 25 feet,
Correct.
and you really want to stay close to centered on the float.
Yep.
Kind of a funny configuration for the salt marsh, but I think that's a good point, Eric. If we could get some additional plugs or some kind of enhancement for that marsh. Does anybody have any strong thoughts on what that ought to be? Or Greg, do you want to have something you want to propose for that?
Yeah, let me talk with Brad Holmes, who does the majority of our wetlands work, and see what he would propose for mitigation on something like this. But yeah, we can certainly add something in that area.
Okay. So let me check. There was nobody in the audience. Do we want to, Jen, do we want to close this with and say that we're going to get a plan for plantings?
We also need to hear from the harbor master at some point.
And we get the harbor master. So
That can go in the orders, Jen said.
I
Well-
mean, if we want to close an issue at the next meeting, we can do that.
Yeah, the applicant would be fine with that if
yeah,
you
let's
continue
see
it.
if we can get a letter from the harbor master. Greg, maybe you can ask him as well. All right. And then see if you can get us something from Brad. That would
Will
be
do.
be good. Okay, so we're gonna continue this to when?
We can continue this to June 3rd.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to continue to June 3rd.
Kenny, we have a second
I'll second that.
from Brendan, all in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes,
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
This is 89 Rebecca Road on May 20th, 2024. Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Mass General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of John LeConte for work related to constructing a deck, a single-family dwelling at location 89 Rebecca Road. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meetings available on the agenda. And is this Greg again?
Yes.
Yes. Good evening. Again, for the record, Gregory Morse, Morse Engineering, representing John LeConte. The property is at 89 Rebecca Road. This is a notice of intent to construct a deck on the eastern portion of the house. Looking at the plan here, Rebecca Road is on the left-hand side. The Atlantic Ocean is on the right-hand side. The property line is shown in bold. The property is developed with an existing single-family home. Between the home and the Atlantic Ocean, there is seawall and there's a concrete patio at the ground level abutting the seawall. The proposal here is to construct a new deck. That new deck is highlighted on the plan here. And it basically wraps around the ocean side of this home. It connects a deck that's on the side of the house with a deck that's on the opposite side of the house. So it wraps around that ocean side and connects two existing decks. This area is in land subject to coastal storm flowage, and kind of the magenta line that cuts through the middle of the house there depicts the velocity zone, which is a VE 16, and an AE zone, an AE at elevation 15. The proposed new deck is elevated at the first floor elevation. The first floor elevation here is above the velocity zone. The first floor is at elevation 18.7. The new deck would be constructed on sonotubes. It's a total of 10 sonotubes under the deck to support it. The deck would be connected to the home and connected to the decks on either side of it. DEP had no comments on this one. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Jen?
I guess the comment is about it being in the VE zone, the buffer to coastal bank, and the whole area is considered dune, just to note that'll be in the orders. And we're just worried about the performance standards for the footings, or, for the footings of the deck. I think it being attached to the house is all building and is okay.
Okay. Yeah. It's true, they didn't have a plan. They have a cross section for the deck connection, but I don't see one for the sonotubes.
I have it. I think I only gave you one of two sheets.
Okay.
All right. Let's see
Did they
my
have a
outline.
depth or anything on that one, Jen?
Mhm.
So
Yes, but I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
I'm trying to find it in the file.
Okay,
Got it.
I'm gonna keep moving with a couple of comments. So, Brendan? Any thoughts on this?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Eric?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Penny?
Okay.
Thank you,
Nope,
Jen.
Yeah.
I'm all set.
Okay.
Happy.
Doug?
Well, my only question was exactly what we're looking at the screen right now. So there's sonotubes, but there is a footing down below there too. That's okay. In a,
So you're supposed to limit the use of footings, if you're in this location. With a sonotube, we basically have two options: to either provide a footing under them or to increase the overall size of the sonotube itself, because you have to have that bearing capacity area on the bottom of the sonotube. So while you have a 2x2 concrete footing, which is buried 4 feet below the ground in this case, it doesn't prohibit the earth above it from moving around the 12-inch diameter sonotube. To eliminate the footing, you'd be looking at installing a 2-foot wide sonotube.
wow.
So it doesn't quite make sense. Typically in a location like this, you'd be looking at doing some sort of driven pile if this was a new house foundation, for example. But for a deck, the loads are relatively small. And in this case in particular, access to the back of the property is prohibitive of getting equipment back there to, drive piles in a case like this. So this would all pretty much be done by hand with materials brought in.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was my exact question. I didn't know how that actually worked with those footings, but yeah, that makes a 2-foot sonotube is going to make more destructive than this. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, make.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Greg.
Richard?
Actually, the only question I have is on the original plan we saw. It's not up right now. I only counted 8 sonotubes. I think you said there were 10. Am I making sure that that's right?
There's
the
two
right one?
that should be shown on this plan that don't really stand out, and they are at the corner of the stairs.
But the stairs are being removed?
One set.
So there's proposed
is-
stairs from the deck down to the ground.
Yeah.
And what you don't see is there's supposed to be a sonotube at the corner of the stair and at that interior corner of the deck.
Okay.
There should be 2 more there.
Okay. Thank you. Probably should be corrected, but it's no big deal.
Okay.
Mine.
So I hit on everybody, right?
Yeah.
Anybody in the audience for this one?
I don't see any. Yeah.
Would I just, Greg, when I look at that plan that shows the sonotubes, it doesn't really show a depth.
Okay.
I think that I'm not seeing that. So what is the depth of the bottom of the footing?
Bottom of the footing is 4 feet below grade.
Okay. And that, I'm just thinking out loud, but complies with any kind of scour issue or anything there?
We believe it does.
Okay. Right?
I ask a question?
Yep.
I must have missed it. What's the building envelope? Is this just a deck, right?
Yeah, this is just a deck, so decks don't need to comply with building setbacks to property lines. The building envelope are the zoning setbacks if you were, adding something with a roof over it.
Okay, all right.
Not adding roof, no roof.
No roof.
Okay.
Okay.
I take a motion
I make a motion to close.
or a second
Second it. I'll
from
second.
Richard. All in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes,
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay.
Now,
On our May 20th conservation meeting, the Scituate Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws to amend and order conditions issued under DEP file number 68-3059 regarding the application of Nura Drury for work related to raising and reconstructing as well as septic repair of a single-family dwelling at location 74 and 74C Glades Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting will be available on the agenda on the website. Okay.
Do you want to read both of them?
Oh yeah, let's do that. On May 5th, on May 20th, 6 p.m. the Central Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws to amend the order of conditions issued under file 68-3059 regarding the application of Mayor Drury for work related to raising and reconstructing, as well as a septic repair of a single-family dwelling at location 74B Glades Road. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Okay. And maybe Jen and I spent some time with Greg trying to sort this out, feel somewhat comfortable, but you guys can see if you can figure it out. Go ahead.
Thanks. For the record, Gregory Morse representing Near Drury, the owner and applicant of these properties. These are the properties that were destroyed by fire last year down in Minot, 74, 74B, and 74C Glades Road. And we came before the commission and we went before the zoning board of appeals to rebuild these homes. They were approved by the zoning board. They were approved by the conservation commission for raise and rebuilds at the time. They also had septic systems approved with them. The commission issued order of conditions to rebuild the septic systems for these three buildings. As the project has, developed, Mr. Drury also owns an abutting building number 76 Glades Road, which was not harmed by the fire. But in looking at the layout of the utilities, not just for Mr. Drury's three homes, but also there were two other homes abutting this property that were harmed by the fire that, again, have to upgrade their septic systems, which encroached onto Mr. Drury's property. Those septic systems on the abutters are being relocated onto their correct properties, which is great. That then opens up a small area, that number 76 Glades Road, which has a septic system on it, but would not be able to upgrade to a Title V septic system, which it needs to do, could ultimately relocate its septic system onto number 74's property that Mr. Drury owns. We will be filing a septic system design plan for 76 and a notice of intent for 76, probably sometime in the month of June to do that work. But that space that's available is only available if we reconfigured the septic systems that were already approved for number 74, 74B, and 74C. So that being said, what we did is we took house number 74, which had a septic system underneath it that extended up beyond the covered porch, and looking at where
I'll
the
see if it's
cursor
on
is.
here. Maybe this one.
Yeah. The one you were on previously was pretty good, actually, Jen.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, go back to that view. So, house number 74 had a septic system approved that was under the house and went out beyond the limit of the house to underneath the covered porch. What we've done is we've pulled back that septic system and reduced the size of that septic system. That septic system was supposed to take flow from 74 and 74C. We've now reduced that septic system under number 74. 74C will get its own septic system, which will be located out front along Glades Road under the gravel driveway area now. So that way there won't be a shared system between 74 and 74C. 74B, which is the house at the top left, used to have its septic system in the parking lot out front on the 74 property. But what we've done is we've relocated the 74B septic system so it's on its own property entirely underneath the house. So this is what opens up the area for number 76 to come in, probably later this month or early next month, to fix its septic system. So you're not approving anything to do with number 76 tonight, but I'm telling you the reason why we're reconfiguring these septics is so that 76 can get a compliant septic system in the near future. What's there today is a non-compliant system. Where we've located these, Board of Health has approved these septic system designs. The remainder of the work on the property, which is reinstalling the water services, regrading to a very limited degree, and the houses themselves, has not changed. We have not increased the size of the houses. We have not changed the porches or the decks, but we have simply relocated the septic systems. I probably talked too much, but I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Okay, Jen?
So we don't yet have the filing for the notice of intent for 76.
No.
That's coming. It has been filed with Board of Health. Right, Greg? I think that's what I understood.
Yes, it has.
And then so they're waiting on us, but they've approved, just for what it's worth, they've approved 76's septic system as well as these other ones. The other changes to 74B, 74, and 74C, with the exception of waiting for what conservation says and easements that are needed.
Hi. Doug, do you want to start?
When I was a kid,
Rubik's Cube.
no, I used to get almost every year for Christmas this little handheld puzzle, and it would have one piece missing, and you had to slide around the pieces to try to make the shape of the puzzle.
Oh.
So that's all Greg did, is he moved the little pieces around. I don't have any problem with it at all. The only significant difference, really, to my mind, is that now there's a septic system under 74B when previously there wasn't. But all in all, the amount of disruption on the site essentially remains the same. So I
Yeah.
think he's done about as good of sliding those pieces around as you can get. So it's good with it.
Okay. Penny?
I'm fine.
Okay. Brendan?
I have no questions.
Okay. Eric?
Yeah, I think to mirror Doug's point, I mean, from what I recall from our last meeting, it seems as if everything that we discussed and raised as a concern has been addressed. And then we'll just wait to see, what happens with 76. But thank you.
Thanks. Richard?
I'm good. Just a question. 76 Glades is a different owner?
No, no,
Same owner.
same owner.
No.
Okay.
Or same family?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm good.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one? So, just as I said when we started, Jen and I met with Greg and Mr. Drury to kind of sort this out. And originally they were a little bit more aggressive moving towards the ocean. They made a few changes, which I think help in the process. And the other good part is we're getting compliant septic systems with all of them, including 76, which right now has a little cesspool on the corner. So it's It's probably the best way to describe it. It's just a bunch of things moving around, but at the end of the day, I think we wind up with better septic systems on all these properties. So that's my input.
Okay.
So
that
on
mean
this
we need-
one, pardon me?
Go ahead. Excuse me.
No, just trying to figure out the motion that we want for this. So I guess we want to make a motion to amend.
To accept the
We're- right.
amendment.
And I'm also want to be clear because it does talk about 76's septic on here that we're not approving.
Approving
This is,
76.
yes, right.
He said he'd be coming back.
Greg?
Yes, we'll be coming back with a notice of intent for number 76. So if you want to include that no work associated with the 76 septic system is approved by this motion, that's perfectly fine.
And you're comfortable by doing this, that everything else is, the Board of Health isn't gonna make any other changes on
Right.
that one?
I am at this point, yes.
Okay,
So
go ahead, Penny.
can I make one huge motion, or we have to do each one separately?
I think you could make a motion for both of them.
Oh,
You
Three
want-
of them.
or three
okay,
of
I
them,
make a
yeah.
motion, we
actually three.
accept the amendment on 74,
Yeah,
74B, and 74C.
I
okay.
will second that motion.
All in favor? Richard
Yes.
and Brendan
Yes.
and Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, Thank
Very
you.
well. Who's that?
Thank you.
thank you. We're now at sorry,
71
Way.
Country Way.
71 Country Way. On May 20th, 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Ryan and Charles Schreier for work related to an addition and rehab a single-family dwelling at location 71 Country Way, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting is available on the agenda posted on the website.
Okay, and we have Jed Hannon from Atlantic Coast Engineering that I'm asking to unmute.
There he is.
Good evening, Jed Hannon with Atlantic Coast Engineering. Can everybody hear me okay?
We got you.
Excellent. So this project is a notice of intent for an existing single-family dwelling. They're looking to rehab the interior and a small expansion in the rear. The project's located within the 100-foot buffer to the BBW. Brad Holmes did the wetlands flaggings as they're shown on the plans. Brad did the environmental memo as well, inland bank to a perennial stream in the rear. So basically, you could see the red hatched areas. It's really not a big project at all, but clearly it falls in the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. The rear, that top hatched area is proposed to be filled in as a part of the addition, as well as that hatched area just above that. That's a proposed rehab of an existing slab on grade storage area to a bedroom. And then there's a slight expansion to a new deck in the rear. Obviously, erosion controls would be installed prior to the start of the project. And that's really it. The net increase in impervious is 120 square feet. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay. Jen?
No, I don't have any questions. He answered most of mine about the increase in impervious and where exactly that was going to be happening. I think the plans you might have are actually in color versus what I'm showing. As far as kind of being able to follow where the work will be.
Okay. Um,
Well,
Doug?
It looks pretty straightforward. I think the significant thing, tell me if I'm incorrect here, but is
Oh.
basically turning a deck into a mudroom. So there's gonna be a roof on it where previously there was not. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Jed?
square.
Where it says remove
Yeah.
existing deck and build a new
I
finished
think
mud.
Jed needs
Yep.
to be unmuted or,
Yes, thank you. That's exactly right, Doug.
Okay, yeah.
It's converting
So
an
that's-
existing deck to a enclosed mudroom with a roof over it.
Yeah, it's kind
So
of.
that's part of the 120 square feet.
Yep. So no, I'm good with it. It's all outside the 50, any of that kind of work. So good.
okay. Penny?
Yeah, no, because it's already disturbed on the ground, so I'm fine with it.
Okay. Brendan?
I have no questions.
Eric?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you.
Richard?
I'm good.
Do we have anybody in the audience?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I don't have any. Just the usual things, make sure they don't dump any materials towards the wetlands and I'm assuming there's not much excavating, Jed.
That's correct.
It's gonna be some footings and sonotubes kind of thing.
That's about it. Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Um. Yeah, just,
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm looking at this, I don't know, to save your clients some money. There's quite a bit of erosion control. It sort of wraps the whole project, unless they need that for a work area. I'd rather see the erosion control sort of just come off the corner of the house and wrap around that project, so nobody was out doing other stuff in the yard unless there's something that I'm missing.
That's right. There's definitely additional lineal footage of mulch stock, erosion control shown, so it's a good
I think
point.
if they just
We can reduce that.
tie it into the corner of the existing house and sort of bring it around to the side and keep the limit of work right in that area, I think that would be a benefit to the yard and save your clients some money.
Absolutely. Good point.
Almost
Thank you.
following that 25-foot contour line, Frank.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Yep, and then maybe swing it back up towards the street a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I were
Okay.
paying for it, that's what I'd want to do. Plus, it
Good
sort of
point.
just
Thank you.
keeps the work sort of all to that area, so people don't venture off unless there was something else planned, lawn for the yard or something. But if that's not the case, I'd just do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I make a motion to close.
I'll second it.
So all in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great.
Fine.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, you too. 19 Woodworth. Where do we stand on that one?
We continued it and I can't remember why.
I think we wanted some more details on the planting plan.
Right.
So we have a few people here. Hold on, I'm trying to find them. All right, Brian, I can unmute you, and then we have Art Allen, who reviewed it for us also
great.
here. And all right, so Brian, do you want to let us know what was new? My understanding is it's the planting plan the details on that or what changed.
Yeah, so Brendan Sullivan's here too from Merrill, and he can kind of give you the nitty gritty. But the I believe the only two changes were the planting plan, and then the amount of impervious driveway was reduced a little bit. I think that was the only two comments that the board had last time. So we did submit DEP 2 weeks ago today. Haven't gotten a number yet. I think what we are hoping for, if it pleases the board, is hopefully a close and a positive vote tonight, and then Jen could fill in the DEP number on the order of conditions. But if not, whatever the board thinks. But I think Brendan Sullivan can give you the details from the changes that we made.
Okay.
Yeah, no, thanks, Brian. I pretty much summed it up. Yeah, so Frank, as you requested, I think Penny as well, I reduced the apron in front of the garage by about 10 or 12 feet. So now our total impervious is down to about 2,700 square feet, including the house, the two aprons. And yeah, added the planting plan that Brad Holmes did, which includes, 24 additional shrubs in the mitigation area.
Do we have a visual plan for that?
Yeah, am I not sharing it? I'm sorry. And I don't think you're done with Board of Health. I know you filed with them, but they haven't finished, and I think they have some comments about where things are. So I'm not sure that everything's done there.
Yeah, they had a couple minor comments. I think we can get around, so I don't see any issues there.
I don't think I can take credit for reducing the apron, but did you say Art's on? Do we want to get Art's comments on that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Art Allen from Ecotech, peer review consultant for the commission. Jen forwarded me the planting plan today. I took a quick look at it, dated May 13th, 2024. And yeah, per my comments at the last hearing, they have added 4 different types of native shrubs in that area. Most of those will be fine in the understory that's there. And they've spec'd mulching around the plants and then seeding for any bare soil in the area. So the planting plan looks quite good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Art.
Post, good.
And so let's see, who wants to start out on this one? Brendan?
I'm all set, Frank.
Okay. Now,
Robert.
well, our members.
I think he meant the
I'm
other
all set
Brendan.
too.
Brendan and Brendan.
Eric?
Yeah, no, I agree with Art. I think the proposed planting looks good, and pleased to see that there will be native seed mix incorporated to this as well, just to fill in the gaps. So yeah, thanks guys on this.
Okay. Richard?
Yeah, I appreciate the reduction in the driveway too. I'm good.
Doug?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Penny?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm seeing the post, Brendan Sullivan, all the way to the planting area, right? All along the 50-foot, the post.
The conservation posts?
Yeah, the conservation posts. They're going right. Well, I'm having a hard time seeing.
Yeah, Penny,
Yeah.
this is Brian. They go right
Yeah.
through the planting area. If you really zoom in, you can see, but the intent is to carry them right
Okay.
through.
Okay, I just want to be sure because we've had issues before where somebody changes hands and then they're out there.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much. It looks wonderful.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
No, I don't see anyone in the audience, and I would prefer not to close until we've
Have
gotten
DEP.
everything back. Yeah,
How much time do we think we need
I think we can continue to the next meeting.
to the 3rd?
Yeah.
Take a motion?
Make a motion to continue this to 6/3, June 3rd.
That was
I'll
Richard.
second that.
Yeah, but assuming everything is good, could you issue and close an issue of that date?
What are we looking for? The Board of Health, Jen?
Yeah.
The DEP number
Oh,
and the
that's
Board of
right.
Health.
You're right. Okay.
Okay. So we got a motion from Richard.
Yep.
To,
And a second from Brendan.
and a second from Brendan. So all in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Art. Thanks, Brendan,
No
Ryan.
problem.
Okay, now we're on to,
We're gonna
Some-
continue to Edward
we
Foster.
have a request to continue 181 Edward Foster to June 3rd. Can we do that, Jen?
Yes.
I make a motion
That
to
didn't sound like a
continue.
resounding yes, but
Yeah,
okay.
well, they asked a while ago, so they'll be
Okay.
there.
All right. So go ahead, Penny.
I make a motion, we continue 181 Edward Foster to June 3rd.
Second,
I'll second.
that was Eric, I think. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes.
Oh, For
And
Marshall.
we have 54 Marshall. We also have a request to continue this to June
June
3rd.
3rd.
Is that gonna
Yep.
work?
I mean, that's what they requested. Let me see if I already have it on here. I think June 3rd will work.
What is Marshall Ave anyways?
It's down Sand Hills.
I know where Marshall Ave is.
Shore Acres.
Near Egypt Beach.
Shore
What's the,
Acres.
what's the project?
They're raising, rebuilding their house, single family home there, but their stormwater's being reviewed, so we were waiting on that.
Okay, got it.
So I'll make a motion, we continue 54 Marshall Ave to June 3rd.
Okay, that's a motion by Penny to a second.
I'll second that.
That's from Brendan. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Eric, and Frank, yes. Okay.
Except the,
And then I have a request from Eric Shoemaker at Mackenzie to withdraw the application of Thomas McCarthy at 16 Lighthouse Road. I guess we should take a vote on that.
okay, I'll make a motion, we accept the withdrawal of 16 Lighthouse Road.
That's
I
Penny,
second that.
Brendan, all in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have an RDA at 467 Country Way. On May 20th at the 6 PM meeting, Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Kenton Bunga Zone for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Situate Wetlands bylaws for activity related to a demo of an existing building, disconnect utilities, abandoned septic system, and remove fuel tank, as well as clean up and stabilize site at location 467 Country Way, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend, and information to access the meeting will be available on the agenda. Okay, for anybody that doesn't know what this is the old Egypt garage. It's by the corner of Captain Pierce and Branch and Country Way.
And we have Greg Morse to present on this.
Okay, Greg?
You're
Thank
back.
you. For the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner Kenton Bonger Zone. This is an RDA for their property at 467 Country Way, which is the Egypt Garage. The property itself is approximately 36,000 square feet in size, developed with the garage, which is right up on Country Way. There's a gravel access driveway around the backside of the garage. Along the property line on the right-hand side, or as you're looking at the screen here on the left-hand side, and along the back in blue, we highlighted a bordering vegetated wetland that was delineated by Brad Holmes on April 23rd of this year. Interior of that BVW, there is an intermittent stream. We delineated the intermittent stream as the IB series. That's the purple dash line that you see interior of the wetland. The proposal under this RDA is to demolish the garage structure. That includes decommissioning of the existing septic system with the Board of Health. You'll see that the septic is behind the building right now. It includes disconnecting the water service from Countryway to the building, and it includes removing an approximate 1,000 gallon fuel oil tank, which is on the right-hand side of the page here, outside the 100-foot buffer zone.
Oh.
All of the building debris would be removed in dumpsters from the site. The site would be left flat and clean when the building is down. At the limit of work, we've proposed a silt fence, which would wrap the limit of work. Earth disturbance should be relatively minimal. There won't be a lot of excavation aside from removing that one tank and then collapsing the septic system behind the building. I'm going to turn it over to you for questions or comments.
Okay. Doug?
Might have said this, but maybe I missed it, that when you raise the building, what goes back? You just lumen seed or?
So we're not proposing anything at this point. We were just going to take it down to the gravel that's at the building right now, and just leave it as a pad.
But
Just,
now,
okay, but there'll be a pad there protecting. So
Correct.
there's not exposed dirt or something like that. Okay.
Well, it would just be like a gravel pad. You know,
Okay.
it would
So
be,
is
it would be
the
exposed gravel.
foundation being removed, Greg? I guess is the,
So a portion of the building has a concrete slab under it. The concrete would be removed for the slab. Another portion of the building is just, field stone or stone foundation that would just be collapsed in, and just graded level with the ground so that it's a flat surface, but there wouldn't be any concrete left. That would be removed from the site.
Okay. Yeah. So my concern was just erosion, like water. It rains and then a bunch of junk goes floating out of there. So
Or we could spread a seed, like a rye seed over it, just something that's going to take relatively fast
quick,
without
yeah.
loaming and seeding it.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Penny?
yeah, no, I'm thrilled. Every time I go by there, I'm there, oh, please, when is this coming down? It's been an eyesore, sad to say. But I'm thrilled. Yeah, no, it looks good to me.
Brendan?
Is there, the pavement around the building is staying?
No,
Is
there's
that
no.
correct?
We were going to leave the pavement around the building for the time being. Yes.
Oh, all right.
Okay, that was my only question.
I thought it
Eric?
Yeah, similar to Doug's question, just about what remains at the site. I know you said footing and then a fieldstone sort of foundation on the other side, but my concern was just exposing what's there. Still maybe not 100% sure on exactly what you were saying was going to be left if there was a slab there. My point is anything that's exposed to the weather, if there's any petrol products still sort of existing in that site, that there's potential runoff, away now that's being exposed to the weather. So that was my only sort of hang up, was just how the demo is going to be completed relative to the foundation slab and what was going to be exposed and left. And if there was going to be anything sort of done to sort of mitigate, movement of any potential petrol products towards the wetland?
Sure, to address that, there is a licensed site professional, an LSP, that's been retained on this project to oversee the removal of that tank and any soils that potentially could have anything within them. So that is being underseen by the LSP. And then we have
Excellent.
the silt fence at the limit of work if there was any sediment on the ground surface that was running. But it is a relatively flat site. And it would be a flat site when the project is done as well.
All right, thank you, Greg.
Richard?
That was my only question. Eric got it, so I'm good.
Okay, do we have anybody else in the audience for this one?
Well, I do want to say that we did not review the resource line for this one. So it's not accepted with the RDA.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you can, I just one more time, run this by me about the building is being demoed, but what part is staying? What concrete is staying? But I know there's a concrete pad right in front, but
So the building and the foundation for the building get removed.
okay.
So, the concrete pad in the front would go with the concrete in the foundation. The pavement and the gravel driveway going around the building remains.
Okay, and then, so what is being brought in for when the building comes out and the foundation comes out to bring everything back to level?
So there isn't a full basement under the building. We would probably bring in a little bit of clean fill to fill in where the tank is that gets removed. There will probably be a load of clean fill that comes in to fill in where the septic system is. But it's not a processed material. It would just be a common fill of those.
But is there a slab? Because when I picture a garage, you enter in onto a concrete surface, and I imagine that's going to be removed as part of the demo, right, Greg?
Yes, so under about 2/3 of the garage, there is a concrete slab. The remainder of the garage actually has a wood floor that is, pretty well collapsed with dirt underneath that. So yeah, the
Okay, so
concrete
in
all
that
comes out.
Right, and in that space where the slab is removed and the sub-material below where that floor had collapsed that is below existing grade, I would assume, is where you're talking that clean fill would be imported to.
Correct.
Okay.
Wait, may I on?
Do we have anybody in the audience in this one? A couple of questions, Greg. Maybe, this is going to be a site that you're going to want to leave exposed for now. You're proposing a silt fence as opposed to a silt sock.
I was, for the simple fact that we're not disturbing much earth. We are taking the building down, but then we are, leaving it in a flat condition. It's not a sloped site. We're not stockpiling significant materials.
Yep.
So I didn't see a large potential for erosion, which is why I specified the silt fence.
Okay. Well, plus there's a paved area, I guess, pretty much encircles this thing or some driveway or whatever now.
Yep.
But how about, is the building higher than Country Way? I guess I'd almost be wondering if we weren't sort of inviting runoff going on to Country Way, if it might need a silt sock more wrapped between the building and the street. Like once you take that down,
It's extremely flat between the building and Country Way.
but I guess if we have a rain, heavy rain or something like that, do you think we're worried about gravel or anything running onto Country Way? Should that be, because it's right on the street essentially? Just wondering if that needs some
Yeah, I think we're certainly I can look at that, and if we need to add something, I think we certainly will. I see runoff from Countryway probably flowing onto this site as opposed to this site flowing onto
I
Countryway.
just, I'm trying to remember which is higher there.
Yeah.
And it's just not registering. So I guess I would say if Countryway is higher and the water runs onto there, that's fine. But if it's the other way around, it almost seems like there ought to be a silt sock from, maybe 8 or 10 feet longer than the building on either side or something, sort of wrapping back around.
Okay.
Would make sense to me.
Okay.
I mean, people are gonna drive in there and whatnot, so you've sort of got to kind of protected the area that they can work in with the silt. With the silt fence, and then just if there's a concern about runoff towards Countryway, that ought to get addressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we could certainly add, silt fence or a sock along Countryway if necessary. The note that I have on the plan here on the left-hand side, calls out for it to be reviewed in the field between the conservation agent and the engineers. So there's wiggle room. I realize there is going to probably be some adjustments to that erosion control barrier.
Yep.
So yeah, we can add some if we deem it's necessary.
Okay. Good.
Okay, you
Jen-
ready?
Anything else you wanted to add to that, Jen Smith?
You mentioned there's an LSP on site for this. Is there any other area that needs to be cleaned up? Or is that something for farther down in a project?
Yeah. At this point, that's the only area that's identified. I believe some other areas that were identified previously have already been addressed and dealt with. So this is the one remaining area.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll take a motion
I make a motion for a -3.
to a second.
I'll second that.
Second from Brendan. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
We have a request for an extension of 53 Border Street.
Yeah. I make a motion, we give them a 2-year extension, Jen, is that what the norm is?
Yes.
Okay, that's a motion from Penny,
I'll second that.
from Brendan. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
and Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Jen, is that one that we would probably be taking a look at, you and I, or a couple of members fairly soon?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's a one that we want to see where things are there. Have we got any kind of as-built on that one, or?
Yes, he dropped one off this week. It's an as-built from the fall. But yes, we have a status as of then.
Okay. Thank you. And then request for amendment for 347 Central.
What's that?
Hey, what are we talking about there?
Somewhere I have this. I think they're adding a driveway to the plan. Greg, is this? Let me look for the plan, but if I remember correctly, what they wanted to do was add a gravel driveway in front of the house. They didn't have that on their original plan.
Yes, 347 Central Ave was a raise and rebuild of a single-family home that was conditioned by the commission. The house has been substantially built at this point. They had always parked basically on the grass or on the edge of the road at the end of Central Ave. During construction here, they've essentially cleared a small area for a gravel driveway, which gets the car off the street. And so this would be an amendment to formalize that gravel area. It is within the 100-foot buffer zone. It's entirely within the area that was approved as the limit of work. It's no closer to the wetlands than what you previously approved. It's in front of the house. But we thought it would qualify as an amendment.
Greg, excuse me for 1 second. We have two houses recently. I can't remember which one it is. Is this the one right next to the Air Force Base or the one a little further south?
Right next to the Air Force Base.
Okay, I'm good with it then.
Well, if the mayor of Humrock is good with it, do we need to
Oh.
vote that?
Well, okay, so they requested an amendment, so we can, are we good, we want this as an amendment, or do we want to accept it as a minor modification?
Um,
But you're right, you would be saying, yes, we want to hear it as an amendment, and then we would advertise it for a future
Okay.
meeting.
Could it be a modification?
Greg, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
So that's not depicted in this drawing, right? What we're looking at right now is what we approved originally.
No,
So-
this is what they're proposing.
That's what we're proposing.
Oh, I see. Does that include a retaining?
It does have a small retaining wall.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we need to
An
Okay.
amendment.
consider that for an amendment. So if we could get
Okay.
that on, yep. All right,
So then, yes, as far as getting everybody to okay hearing it as
As
an
an
amendment.
Yep.
yep. All right.
Do you need a motion for that or is it?
I make a motion, we,
No, I don't think because we're
Just
gonna,
agree to it.
this will be done, it'll be put together and
Okay.
then we'll vote it.
Yep.
Okay,
sounds good.
okay. Unless you think with that, if we had a sketch on that and everybody was okay, we could just amend the orders for that. That would be the other option.
Well, the difficulty that I see with it
Is the retaining wall.
is the wall. If the wall wasn't there, it might be simpler.
Okay. Well, why don't we do it as an amendment and
Yep.
we'll get a plan and we'll take a look at it. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So are we really through all the,
Yeah, what do you want to tell us?
what do I want to tell you?
I'm in a rush.
I just opened an email and I see that there's a few reappointments. I think it's Doug and Richard,
And
myself,
Jen, yep.
myself, and Jen Foley. I'll have to decide what to do. Richard hasn't been able to find anybody to replace him, so I don't know that he can. He's got many options.
He's still looking, he's still looking.
All right. Just
Drag somebody out of
I
the
did
swamp.
forward that email to all of you, so. And then we're gonna be working a little bit with the scouts on the town forest to see if we can come up with a little camping area for them. We'll get a little bit more information and then we can take a look at it and then give it to the select board. Actually, because they have more jurisdiction over the town forest than we do.
Yeah, but that's wonderful, Frank.
Yeah,
So happy you found them a spot that,
well, let's hope.
yeah,
But they-
let's hope it works because they deserve it.
And I can't think of anything else for this evening.
Well, one other open space, I guess it's open space, but the IXL group wanted to, again, this summer, do some work on Driftway Park, a couple hours a week.
Oh, yeah, but for sure, that'd be great. And I'm actually gonna try to get to the Driftway Park with Mr. Scott and see if we can come up with some fixing up there as well. But that group's always been super helpful.
They have, and
we
Mr.
haven't heard
Scott
from
will
them in a
move you
while.
along.
Okay. For
That's a
sure.
great
Yeah,
project,
Jen, if
Frank.
you could get back to tell them, we really appreciate it.
No, yes, and we have, I guess I would say we'll probably start with putting enforcements back on the agenda and adding those in so we can
Yep.
keep those up.
We
Once you get your helper, Jen, once you get your helper.
and we appreciate Jen is like hobbling around here still on her crutches and keeping us moving, which is very admirable, and we appreciate it.
is.
Above and beyond.
And
Um,
if we
a
finish
long
before 8
time.
o'clock, I won't eat all the candy that's sitting here on the.
Oh, did Nancy bring a pile in for you?
I don't know where it comes from, but there's a pile
Comes
here.
from Nancy.
I've done a job on it, but there's still a few left. So,
Oh, God.
Probably good I'm not there.
gosh. All right.
I make a
All
motion
right,
to
so-
Quick question,
adjourn.
Frank.
Oh,
Yes, Eric.
Hold on. Just regarding Summer Street, I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
if that was still something
Yeah, let me
you wanted to try and get scheduled, but
I really want to do that. Let's see. Right now, the only I'm tied up on Thursday. How does Wednesday look? Could we do Wednesday after work? Maybe.
yeah, what time would you say works for you on Wednesday?
What time do you are freed up?
I'm available around 3 o'clock.
Brendan, are you interested in trying to do that?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
anybody could come, but this is a piece of property we wanted to take a look at. The folks would like to give it to the commission, and Eric and Brendan had expressed interest before. We were going to take Jen, but we'll have to send her some pictures.
yeah.
You don't want to go out there, Jen.
So can we try for Wednesday afternoon? I'll shoot an email to the property owners and
That
try
works
for-
for me.
try for that. Okay. I'll check with them tomorrow and I'll get back to you guys. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Eric.
One more thing, Frank, you said you
Yep.
sent an email out to everybody about?
Only reappointments, but you're not up for a reappointment.
Oh, okay,
Probably appointment.
When
Sorry,
did you
sorry
send it,
about that.
Frank?
that's all right.
While we were chatting here tonight.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, got it.
So all I did was forward Michelle's request.
And let them know you want to come back, Doug. You hear me? Jake wants to see you every 2 weeks.
Where is Jake?
I
Jake
heard you
was on
talking
the-
to him.
Jake was here a lot tonight, but he's gone off to bed now. He was up here. You just missed him.
I know. I'll have to introduce him to Patrick. Maybe the two of them will get along.
There you go.
You-
Oh, Lord.
Unique. He is unique. All right. Are we
All right.
done then?
All right,
I-
I'll add one more thing. I will work
please.
on getting maybe some sort of mitigation policy and an update to the list of requirements for submittals.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That would be super. We're just hopeful that you get when can we expect
2
someone
weeks,
helping
right?
you in the office, Jen?
Next week.
Day after
Right.
Memorial Day, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So we appreciate all that you're trying to get done. Don't.
Come here.
We'll
You got
get
somebody
we'll-
coming in, Jen.
we'll get there. All
Here's
right.
Patrick. Penny, here's Patrick.
Oh, hi, Patrick. Oh, I'd love to have Patrick come visit. Oh my God, that's the size.
He's big.
No, Moana's gonna be that size the way she eats.
All right, get down, boy.
No, Jake's all muscle. He's a muscle man.
All right,
Oh,
have we
geez.
done the final vote?
Have we voted to adjourn?
No, you didn't vote.
I'll make a motion to go home.
Take a
Adjourn.
second
Second.
from Richard. All in favor, Doug,
Sure.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Frank. Yes. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a nice
good
night.
week. Take care.
Night,
I'll be
everyone.
back to
All
you
right,
guys.
good night.